Okay, I'm gonna start over again real quick. I'm having a problem with my moving my data files uh, to a different place other than internal storage to an SD card and any other cloud. Anyway, so like I was like doing a lot of I got to the point to where um, I'm using every bit of information that I've like ever had access to that I can remember that seems significant. And here lately, I've been thinking about the ultimately, which has been the last several days, which goes back all the way to like as far back as I can remember to like my very first memory, like on this planet, this world. Okay, and anyway, um, which seems to be me, like probably less than 1 month old, on an operating table with like three circular lights that were bright but yet kind of glazed, soft but bright, in that way, and the pastel green square tiles, um, which is predominantly like 1960s um, architectural preference involving that. I didn't think of it then. Although that when I was young, it's kind of like who would really choose that. Well, anyway, years later, like it's either sixth, seventh, or eighth, or ninth grade. I'm thinking it's eighth and ninth grade. That way, involving world history, involving like color codes with like a province being predominantly not limited to, but yeah, the pastel green. And that was like one of the first things I noticed. Like really, that many years later, I think I was like somewhere around maybe 14 or 15 years of age. Um, yeah. Um, in any case, I didn't really connect any real time with like current affairs and like the now thing involving province. Really, I was still kind of like around like transportation, but not real involved with like an automatic thought process identifying like a VIN number with province in any kind of way. Um, in any case, yeah. So I mean, like, I've been like studying a lot of my thoughts and memories on certain aspects of like geographic informations systems, involving not limited to geographic information systems, and intersects of vast vectors and rasters or 3D imagery, and 3D modeling in that way. Even landscaping included, as well as architectural um, modeling in that way, involving geographic information systems and global positioning systems, and VSAT, as a matter of fact, were like global positioning systems, and what OnStar is to like General Motors, and tracking systems and ways and means of like fleet management. Trapeze being one of them. How true it is. That was the information. I'm kind of like leery and kind of like aware maybe of maybe normally I wouldn't have any kind of concern about classified ads. I thought it was kind of like ridiculously something that maybe I'm thinking that maybe should have been aware of, that maybe I didn't even think would be something to even have a concern about. Anyway, so like Houston Independent School District at the time was like offering a um, fleet management geographic informations in operations with the Trapeze software that is used for like fleet management and tracking. And Houston Independent School District had it. So like I studied like everything. That was like an automatic mode of mine in the employment section, was like classified ads, just knowing what's available. Where is it, all over the entire Houston area, or curriculum involving like specific degree plans. How many year degree, associates, bachelor's, PhD, masters, or bachelorette, whatever. Um, in that way. So I mean, I was like studying like what universities is it like going to be like a chronological systematic alternation between universities, designating like the newspaper, like the Houston Chronicle, Houston Post, of what is going to be made available as far as like graduates and degree plans. So I mean, I was like studying curriculum for like degree plans. I mean, like all the time. I mean, it's like virtually every week I'd put some time just to like know what degrees are available, what colleges, universities, what level, you know, in that way. So I was kind of like, you know, kind of like up to date, and responded to like a whole lot of classified heads. But in any case, yeah, in that way with geographic information systems, there was something about the analog and digital, and converting from analog to the digital, which was predominantly before Y2K, but I think pretty much there was a time within range that would be an automatic memory and perception of some connectivity between the Y2K issue and the conversion from analog to digital. Predominantly, you know, the squares of digitized format involving what you would see a transmission on television screen breaking up would break into the digitized squares as compared to the old analog that would be like, you know, the diagonal like stripes and scrolling and rolling of those lines and sometimes stripes. And in any case, yeah, so anyway, the computer architecture, you know, the four corners of the earth suggest that the four corners of earth, you know, with international financial management, the word globalization is the word. And you know, the spherical quadrants are like divided by four, like football-shaped spherical quadrants that way. And Audi is like the four circles that has the intersects. They give the impression of the three, but there's like some like really like brains about that, right? The Olympics also, but I haven't found any real psychology or, you know, degreed reasoning. I hadn't looked really beyond it, other being like a professional amateur issue anyway. But anyway, I mean, if it's like some measuring units of segregating factors between like the 180-degree flat line, you know, a straight line, or a telepathic answer in that way. I mean, if that's really all the intersects mean to the intersects in the Olympics is above and below, something similar in mind to oscillation or urban and suburban issues, or even programming with television. But anyway, yeah, back to the pastel green architectural tile. Okay, well, I didn't in any kind of way. I mean, I thought of it, but I mean, I like not seriously in any kind of way involving like traffic control or the green light, the go, and traffic lights, or any patterns. You know, I came to the awareness that my entire life I thought that I never noticed a patent of any state or nation or any claim of any kind of patent. And how true it is that it's even called a patent somewhere else with any English translation of another language, I'm really not even sure. I think I would have already known that by now if that's really the issue. But in any case, yeah. So like all those years, you know, I never thought of like, you know, the encryption, the embedded, the architecture, and the platform, which is pretty much you know, the four corners of the earth doesn't really identify globalization as international financial management, and yet that is very much not limited to some haloed, you know, venue, you know, some like, you know, Rising Canyon, like, you know, Cheap Potty Squat, you know, some like haloed venue, some like color-coded, you know, venue of like the, you know, the toilet, some in today's world of fleet management, you know. yeah, so for real, okay. So anyway, yeah, so yeah, you know, likewise, I mean, that became like a real cool humor about it. And really, in any case, yeah. So I'm just here recently for the last several weeks considered, you know, continuing thinking about that province, an electronic province, and it's ultimately got to the platform and Horizon like an electronic province. They didn't originally start out the way I'm thinking about it now, or some color code involving traffic. In my memory to this day, I don't recall ever seeing a U.S. patent with any electrical or electronics involving ultimately getting to the international electrical electronic engineering, international standards of like traffic light control. And I have not heard not one person that I know as an electrician, or even like programmable logic circuitry and you know, switch gears and electrical as compared to electronics, um, give any kind of reference to any automation that would like demand, if not thoroughly segregated and like not a patent required, if not the demand standard of not having one. How true it is, I haven't really gone beyond to actually, you know, see if it's the absolute. Although when I was studying the international electrical and electronic engineering of like a worldwide major cities and the international standards of like light traffic control, I still did not notice any involvement or reference in any kind of way to any patents on a worldwide level. Um, and also, I mean, it came to be like an issue with me, what that means to an intersection as a square, or what digital processing and digital processing speed mean if governance is or is not the word, or regulating factor, if regulation, I mean, if it's really only an issue of international waters, that would suggest that it's not protected truthfully. Anyway, that's getting off into a whole different subject. But anyway, you know, like when analog converted over to the digital, you know, the television screen immediately, when that took place, when a transmission was weak, or like during a storm, like on a television, the screen would break into little squares, and that's an automatic identifier that it's like a digital transmission. Okay, so like involving like even something of the microprocessor, involving the little squares. Some of the contacts are actual thermal coupled, and like in some of the older microprocessors and computers, I mean, like it would be like a thermostatic, and you could hear them click, and it was just like a little type of special metal. It was like a thermostatic click. Anyway, yeah. So so the square came to be the issue of like digital processing. What digital processing means in conversion. And you know, immediately, you know, the RPM would be like the automatic issue of attenuation. Attenuation being like, you know, like the word, like a geographic attachment to 140 in Pearland, Texas, and alphanumerics, yeah, and some like absolute value, or some like UA issue involving attention and some absolute value, getting into the signal processing, digitized beyond like calculus of absolutes that are actually identified as the two vertical bars. Introducing once again the word algorithm, yay! Introducing algebra, although like to this day I haven't seen or heard of any practical application of algorithms in any kind of way other than the word itself being introduced. Although the absolute values of the bars are actually used, and it goes through algebra until it gets to like the calculus. Then the absolute values of the bars in coordination with likewise the algorithm, it goes beyond the alphanumeric. It's the alphanumerics of the pentagon, yeah, and calculus being 92, yeah, and the pentagon being 92, or like a drummer, a spirit, a mayor, and you know, the list goes on and on about 92, or you know, a future, or whatever the case may be, and what that means to audio production, as well as parameters and parametric issues involving customizing waveform, in that sense of what symbolic representation means in waveform, even comparable reference to military time, and like what most people involved with shorthand court reporting and real shorthand court reporting actually use is like a symbolic waveform as their form of communication, identifying the actual content of communication inside a courtroom, normally minutes, okay? I mean, when you're in a courtroom and you hear the word minutes, it's automatically an attorney referring to the transcripts, the proceedings, or whatever the case may be, in the content of the conversation during the court proceeding, whatever the case may be, for, you know, whatever. Anyway, so likewise, I mean, if it's going to be like a legal media issue, and what that means in court, and before, during, and after, or what legal media is as compared to, if you want to call an archive a live on air current affair, or a deposition, or even in banking. Legal media is ultimately getting to whether it's going to be like a proper English numerical composition issue, like a national deficit available in closed caption for the hearing impaired, with every transaction, like inside the bank, or what that means to legal media, or if it's a current affair, or an archive division, or if the word deposition is something that's normally only given the distribution of meaning normally associated with, like, legal terminology involving attorneys. A deposition normally suggesting contractual and binded by law as a contractual involving the word deposition, and normally the range in applicable and practical application and its use, by far is it goes truthfully far beyond what most people might not ever experience, or truthfully ever know, or see any significance of how even knowing would maybe possibly change their entire life, or not at all, or like no significance and not going to pursue it, kind of thing. And in any case, so it ultimately gets to when and where, specifics. If the deposition is only a legal media in the sense of what actual annotation, distinguishing when and where annotation is of, like, waveform and processing and jurisdictional, annotation enforced innovation, when annotation enforces innovation. It's not a question, right? So in any case, yeah. So even certain degrees involved with law, like law, that doesn't participate in a circuit, probably will not really ever even use that phrase of annotation enforcing innovation. Is not a question. It's almost like, an experience that, like, even a degree within its own description, not participating in the circuit, might not ever even know or even hear of the practice of what's going on within a circuit in military time, or every degree above, in the way of the real brains of the masters, participating in that way, beyond the administrative, but yet presidential, if you want to call it, or executive, or or the beyond that, and national security type of stuff, for whatever reason, it's not a question in my mind, no matter how many degrees are degreed, there's certain things like principle. It goes with, like, virtually any job description or career or even degree, that certain principles are actually manufactured and designed, that only a principle applied from another applicable practical application is the only solution and answer for what is normally not even provided and normally not even used as a principle, although available. It's kind of like when there's been certain many times that principle became a major issue of knowing, and it's really truthfully only the experience of the degrees making that fact of awareness, that when, like, that time comes that there's nothing else left to do except look for the principles that might be interchangeable, and the only answer, not that it's really known whether or not if it's available or not. More so sometimes than not, that's exactly the last thing, if when all else fails, is find that principle that's interchangeable in that way, and a practical application, like participating in a circuit type of deal. That's what I'm referring to. In any case, yeah. So anyway, like, I was thinking about that deed restriction as compared to a mechanics lien, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and something about the deed restriction. It seems to be like I haven't, like, gone far beyond, other than just, like, skimming my memory on what I know about it, or something about the Leaning Tower of Pisa having some issue with, like, escrow, and what that means with value in real estate, or even human capital, or intellectual in that way, of what royalties is to human capital, or actual participation in reality, not necessarily some accusation through default by ignorance, and others having a usury or Deceptive Trades Act, if not misallocating the meaning, by definition, suggesting that in that way. So anyway, yeah, I want to follow up this. I got to charge this battery up. So there's something about the traffic lights and the province and the electronic province, the platforms, the embedded encryption platforms, and oh god, yeah, the platforms in the architecture, yeah. So anyway, I'll get back with it. I got to charge the battery up. I might wait till tomorrow, but I'll probably give it some time and let the battery charge up. Be back in a minute.